This is Robert Webb reporting from Scottsdale, Arizona. Good evening, listeners and viewers of the Keynote Script Assignment. Welcome to you all. The topic of this report is brand voice, how to develop it, how to nurture it clearly, and how to connect the unique personality of the brand with customers. In short, how do we communicate brand voice? By listening to the individual brand voices emanating from the subconscious storage of umpteen hundreds of brands, the average consumer may navigate the choices littering today's oversaturated marketplace and by guidance of the winning brand's voice, arrive at a decision that is comprised of approximately 10% logic and 90% emotional intuition. In the battle between logic and intuition, the logic of the product knowledge merely acts as a backup or a backstop to the emotive call or urge to buy and to buy now. Always gear your message as if the customer is ready to act. The customer is always ready to buy. The first step in finding your preferred brand voice is to map out the attributes of the character that your customers or potential customers have indicated a preference for. Per Adamson, we are to define our brand voice as a character from a book or a movie, or even a blend of characters. I choose cheer-like characters for the new brand voice of my subject craft beer distributor, pitcherofnectar.com. The characters from the television series Cheers are playful and friendly. A few, such as Dr. Frasier Crane, are even professorial and authoritative. The language of the characters is sometimes whimsical, sometimes serious, but not very much jargon-filled. The tone of the voice of the characters is always personal, at times humble, more often than not direct, and occasionally clinical. So, what message do the Cheer Boys send? The new proposed brand voice is to amplify the subject distributor's ability to advertise effectively for a cornucopia of separate and distinct brands of craft beers. As you can see, there are many brand voice attributes and many craft beers, but life is full of difficult decisions. Which ones best represent your brand? Meet Frasier W. Crane, M.D., a doctor of medicine, Ph.D., a doctor of philosophy, and A.P.A., a member of the American Psychiatric Association. In short, a shrink who has all the answers to everyone's flaws except his own. I believe the character of Dr. Frasier Crane offers a recognizable, spot-on relationship with our craft beer manufacturers and their craft beer consumers. Well, it's time to choose your player now. I choose Dr. Frasier Crane. Kelsey Grammer, the Emmy Award-winning actor who played the character of Dr. Crane, describes his character as flawed, silly, pompous, and full of himself, yet kind and vulnerable. Witty to a fault, Frasier reveals the flaws within us all and proves that even a well-educated Ph.D. can somehow become bewitched when it comes to the topic of loving one's own brew, or one's own significant other, or one's own spouse. As a brand driver, Kelsey Grammer says, at the least, love your favorite craft brew. Marta Kagan, in her HubSpot web post titled 7 Reasons Why Your Brand Will Never Be As Awesome as Apple's, describes a brand to be ultimately nothing more than a mere promise, a sort of mental mapping tool that measures degrees of trust, not unlike a sailor's astrolabe or a captain's magnetic compass. Stay focused on the customer, and in the case of a distributor such as Pond, the customers of your customer. We know that craft brewers, like all entrepreneurs, tend to be independent thinkers. The personality thus built, the brand voice of Dr. Frasier Crane will now become the media player through which all content and advertisements are channeled into the marketplace to attract the craft brewers of the Southwest USA. Remember now, craft brewers are independent thinkers and will not cotton to any marketing scheme that does not show the potential to increase demand for their limited number of barrels. In the 2008 Dr. Pepper commercial, the character of Dr. Frasier Crane, portrayed by the incumbent Kelsey Grammer, implores his audience to trust me, I'm a doctor, when selecting a soft drink. I believe the same script can be written for Pitcher of Nectar Distributing, thus attracting more craft beer lines to the current stable of brands under contract. Still, deciding what targeted customers to go after requires a small sketch of each craft brewer manufacturer. Neumeyer describes several attributes to search for and questions to ask when crafting a strategy to unveil the new brand voice. Is the brand voice distinctive? Can the distributor differentiate each brand to stand out from the crowd? Is the selected brand expression both clear and unique? Is the brand expression relevant to craft beer manufacturers and their types of customers? Is the brand voice memorable? Is it easy to recall the brand expression? Does the brand expression convey emotion or surprise? Will the selected brand expression work across different message types and different types of media? In other words, is the new brand voice extensible? I believe the character of Dr. Crane is sufficiently complex to allow for communication with craft beer manufacturers and their customers throughout many different levels of communication, such as information, style, or even emotion. For example, in the original Cheers series, Norm was allowed to talk directly to the doctor, even though Norm himself was neither a doctor or an intellectual. Similarly, the craft beer customers of each brand will be able to provide feedback to their respective favorite brand of craft beer via commenting. Immediate customer feedback is essential to staying on message, or else the distributor will risk intervention from a whole host of professional and not so professional blog writers. For most of the writers of adverse content, the success of their endeavor is measured in purely personal satisfaction rather than in terms of money. In other words, these writers get off by exposing their experiences with brands, both the good, the bad, and the ugly. Therefore, to protect the brand in today's marketplace, a branding team must keep their ear to the ground and swiftly accept responsibility for any mistakes and counter any false situations vociferously. And that ends this edition of the Keynote Script Assignment. Please review the accompanying Word doc for a list of content and picture citation references. Thank you for watching. Be sure to tune in for future episodes of the Keynote Script Assignment.